Beautiful. Angela, thanks so much for jumping on. Really appreciate you sharing some thoughts today. And just most importantly, coming off an awesome record month for the last month and the last couple of months. You mentioned, I think, before that you kind of started in the program at about 4K in sort of Feb, and you've just
Yeah,
hit sort of 24K, which is amazing. And much more to come. Big plans to come, obviously, as we've sort of just spoken about. But before we jump into some other things, I'd love to just kind of get a bit of a introduction from yourself, just about the business and what it was like kind of before we started working together.
sure. So I've got a homeware business online, which only sells in the United States, based in New Zealand, obviously. So we launched in October last year, and thinking basically just putting up, well, there's obviously a lot of work before that, but thinking once we launched that all these customers would come to me and I'd have this huge, amazing online business overnight, which clearly doesn't happen. So the hard part really started with marketing and finding an audience, which, I've been to the States probably 4 times, and a lot of people have said, have you got people that work with you over there and everything? I had nothing. I just pretty much saw an opportunity that I wanted to go to a bigger market than what New Zealand was for the product that we had. So from there, I did a few different sort of online courses, and yeah, I had to really teach a lot of myself a lot about online and e-commerce without having a huge experience in it. And there's a lot of throwing spaghetti at the wall, I guess, with different things tried, and just there was no cohesion anywhere. And I was close to just giving up probably in February, and then Will's ads chased me around and round and round and finally got me. So so proof that retargeting works.
Yes.
and then sort of from onboarding, it was just really clear to have, I think, a person and a group in front of us that we could share ideas, and knowing that there is just a really good timeline to start with, which is helpful. First of 7 days, 30 days. And every day, I guess it's one in front of the other, and it's the same. And when you said to me at that time, you'll be at 20K at the end of June, I was like, there's no way. Like, I was having $0 days. And look, I still had one last week, which was terrifying, but that was the norm back then. And now I can just ride the ups and the downs. It's definitely far from being as consistent as I want, but the kind of $100 days have turned into $1,000 days, and hopefully they'll do 2,000, 3,000. So it's just come with a lot of confidence, I think. And it definitely hasn't happened easily, I can say that, but it's just the consistency and the confidence that you and Kirk and the group give you to keep going and keep doing it, and the results will happen, really.
Yeah, that's I love that you're kind of getting used to your new kind of standards, and that happens at every step of the journey. And it'll be the same when you're hitting new milestones as well. It's like, I remember when I was doing $1,000 days or whatever it might be.
Yeah.
$500 days. It's amazing how you do get conditioned to that. And sort of like we were talking about, that's kind of obviously the lagging or the output side of things, but also from the inputs, which we don't necessarily no, we're always looking at the outcomes, but when it comes to the inputs of even just dollars and ad spend, just again, that conditioning side of things, like we did just talk about, is I think definitely holds people back when they don't have the confidence to have those inputs put in. And that was one thing that you definitely were willing to do, but probably just need, a bit of confidence in terms of the scaling and sort of things, which has been a really big part of your success, the ads and nutting that out, because, they started at very unprofitable levels, but you persisted at
definitely.
it. You were committed to putting the time and obviously the money into it, and then something took and it started to get more consistency. It started to get higher days, and you started to get obviously some great momentum. That's the spark, right, of the ignition. So super positive, and obviously proud of the work that you've done. I mean, before jumping in, you mentioned you've done a few little courses and things like that.
Yeah.
Was there any sort of reservations of jumping into like a more of a formal kind of mentoring program like this? What was sort of
I was in a mentor program, I guess, which got me launched, I guess, but it was quite hands off. I think it was pretty generic. So it was okay for the time, but it didn't get me to, I guess, once launched. I didn't get an order for like 4 or 5 days. I was like, I thought this was going to happen as soon as I switched on the website.
Yeah.
So, and then I did another Facebook course, which was good. And I guess I had a basic understanding, but it's still, it just wasn't enough for what I needed for, in our community. We kind of, I think in our group, we're all kind of reasonably small, medium, just starting out, and we're all on that same level, which is good. And it seems to be what's in the program seems to work for all of us within reason. So it's, and also just having someone on the other end as well, as opposed to some course that you have to download online and try and work through yourself is hard, because it's lonely. You've got, as I said to you before, I don't hear from anyone. I don't really hear from a lot of customers. And sometimes you're on your own all day. So it's nice to have some other people that are going through the same stuff with you. And I guess you hear a lot of ecom businesses that do really well, you think overnight, with some widgets that they've invented. But what I understand, and that's why I think when I was starting out, going, well, maybe my product's too generic, and it's just it hasn't got that real USP or solving one particular problem. But it's not necessarily about that either. It's there's a lot of things that go into it, and you can put it together and it can grow well, or at the level that you want to.
Yeah, you're not wrong, and that's probably a conversation we maybe had initially. Of course, we want to be able to separate ourselves somewhat from people in the market, but there's still, call it, common things that sell all day, every day, right? It's often the boring kind of generic things that people make a lot of money from in their online businesses. We just need to kind of be there. I think the biggest risk you can take with a business is creating something completely far out and different. Whereas we want to be understood and understand the use and the need and desire of markets, so that they can understand it really quickly. They like it, they don't. They might even have some comparison points, or like what we call anchoring between products or pricing, and they can compute in their own minds about where they see value and buy or not. And so that's where you've made really great links in all of that, in all of your marketing and whatnot. And found your 80/20s through obviously heavily into the ads. You're obviously still trying to figure out a few things on the email side and organic side. There's always challenges to be had, but the conversion was a big thing for you too, which is hugely beneficial to you. So it's been awesome to see, obviously, work through it with determination and just keep at it. That's the biggest thing.
And it's I read somewhere the other day, like, the growth has been really good and I'm really happy with it, but you've only you've got to keep doing the same thing every day. That's not going to change from now on. It's just different levels. But and that's what I was asking you before. What happens now? It's like the same thing. Just keep doing it.
It's seriously true. One of the best things I ever heard was it's doing the ordinary things for an extraordinary period of time. It gets the extraordinary results. Like, that's just so true. And that's where just the awareness, and sort of like we're talking about with you and changing ads and things like that. You're like, when I just sort of recognize I sort of need to leave things alone for a minute and let it kind of do its thing, it just you almost gave it permission to go and perform, in a strange way. And no one can kind of guess that, but it is definitely a good metaphor for our business, that we can be so overwhelmed and fiddly and want to make things work, and everything's so high stress and high pressure. But sometimes it just needs to have a bit of a moment and be able to breathe, like give the business time to breathe, if that makes sense. And things,
which is really hard. When you're not making
hard,
sales and you're spending money and you're like, oh my God, but
totally
just sort of trust it and keep going. Because I was, like I said, like when I joined you, I was like, I'm going to give up. Like, I've invested quite a bit of money in this and stop, but can't keep going because I'm losing money with ads. And I'm not extremely profitable now, but it's been a big turnaround and there's a lot to work on still. But it's definitely helped me get through that real sort of starting point. You can, you spend so much time setting up the business and buying the stock and doing all your messaging, everything, and then you launch, you're like, oh.
That's basically everybody. Honestly, it's basically everybody. And the sooner we can kind of realize that, the better. And as you mentioned, you sought help immediately, and that's
but I wish I had come across probably 6 months before, but maybe I don't know, I needed to go through and learn a lot before to get to that point to really understand it. So it
all happens in good time. Well, I mean, thanks obviously for sharing that. I mean, just one last thing, I guess, being in that position prior to the program and sort of knowing what you know now, being on the other side, like, for people that are in that position where you were kind of lost and overwhelmed, I guess, as you said, like almost thinking about shutting up shop, like what do you sort of say to those people, or what advice
just don't, especially if you've really committed time. Like this was my full business. It wasn't just a side hustle which I was going to see what happens. You just can't, like, if you're really passionate about it and you really believe in it, you've got to do something to keep it going, and it's your own determination. And yeah, and I guess if you're on the fence of joining your program, I'll definitely do it, obviously, like I was. And yeah, you assured me that you weren't giving any guarantees, that's for sure, but it's gave me the confidence to do it, because you'd seen other members go through the program and it worked for them. So I was like, well, I can do that. But there were times where I thought I couldn't.
Love it.
So now, yeah, the next, you got to promise me the next thing, and I'll try and do it.
Absolutely, it's inevitable. It is inevitable. You're on the right trajectory. We've got you back. So it's just so pumped to see your progress up to this point. But yeah, much more to come. So thanks so much for sharing all that. I know it's going to be valuable for people on looking.
Yeah, hopefully. No, and thank you to Will and Kirk and the group as well. Like, as you say, you've got our back, and that's where it's really important. It's really important.
For sure. Awesome. Thanks so much for sharing.
No worries.
Cheers.